For decades, the Amazon was portrayed as an untamed wilderness, a place too hostile and isolated to support ancient urban life. Textbooks insisted that the rainforest was nothing more than an endless carpet of trees, inhabited only by small, mobile groups who left behind little more than pottery shards and temporary dwellings. This idea became so deeply ingrained in academic circles that questioning it seemed almost unreasonable. Yet while the world repeated the same assumptions, an extraordinary truth lay hidden just beneath the canopy, silent, immense, and waiting for the right moment to be seen again. But before we jump back in, drop a comment letting us know what time you're tuning in and where you're watching from. We love seeing how far our episodes are reaching. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It really helps us keep bringing exciting topics here on the Primal Roots channel. In eastern Ecuador, the Upano Valley had long carried an unusual reputation among local communities. Generations of residents noticed that the terrain did not look entirely natural. There were hills too perfectly shaped, slopes too symmetrical, and flat platforms that seemed deliberately leveled. Elders spoke of strange patterns in the land, but no one could confirm anything. The jungle was dense, fast-growing, and relentless. Trails vanished in weeks, vegetation swallowed open spaces in months, and the ground remained so soft and humid that any ancient structure quickly blended into the landscape. Without a clear view from above, the mystery remained intact, a historical puzzle hidden in plain sight. Everything changed when researchers turned to technology that was never designed for archaeology. LiDAR, a laser-based mapping system capable of stripping away the vegetation layer digitally, had been used primarily for environmental surveys, but scientists realized it might be the only tool powerful enough to penetrate the Amazon's dense canopy. When the first scans of the Upano Valley were processed, the results were so unexpected that the team repeated the analysis multiple times to ensure it wasn't an error. What emerged from the data was not a scattering of isolated mounds. It was a city, a sprawling, interconnected, intentionally engineered urban landscape stretching across the forest floor. The lasers revealed enormous platforms arranged in geometric patterns, straight roads running for miles, plazas larger than football fields, and an intricate drainage system designed to control rainfall in one of the wettest climates on Earth. This was not the work of passing groups or temporary settlements. It was the architectural fingerprint of a complex civilization that thrived for more than a millennium. The revelation was seismic. The long-standing narrative of an untouched, uninhabited Amazon collapsed instantly. Beneath the roots, vines, and layers of soil, the forest had preserved an entire society, one that no modern researcher had even imagined. The scale alone challenged everything known about pre-Columbian South America, and this was only the beginning. Once the shock of the LiDAR images settled, archaeologists faced a more demanding task, proving that the digital shapes corresponded to real human-made structures. Boots on the ground were still essential. Excavation plans began immediately, but the team quickly understood the enormity of the challenge. The rainforest had not simply covered the ancient city, it had absorbed it. Thick roots twisted through old walls, moss clung to every surface, and layers of compressed soil concealed the original shapes. Every centimeter of earth had to be removed slowly, methodically, and with extreme care. Even so, the confirmation came quickly. Pieces of pottery emerged exactly where the LiDAR predicted platforms. The ceramics displayed sophisticated firing techniques, decorative patterns, and standardized designs, evidence of specialized production rather than sporadic daily use. Charcoal and organic remains suggested long-term habitation. It became clear that these platforms were residential foundations, carefully built and maintained for generations. As the excavations continued, unmistakable patterns began to form. The platforms were not random. They were grouped into organized clusters that resembled neighborhoods, each one anchored by a massive central plaza. Some plazas stretched more than 100 meters across, suggesting they served ceremonial, political, or communal functions. The city's streets were strikingly straight, cutting through the forest with geometric precision. In some areas, the roads extended for kilometers, perfectly aligned despite the uneven landscape, a feat nearly impossible without advanced surveying methods. The sophistication of the design revealed a level of coordination that contradicted everything previously believed about ancient Amazonian societies. This was not a spontaneous cluster of villages. This was deliberate urban planning. Drainage channels ran along the edges of residential areas, guiding water away from homes and into controlled pathways. Agricultural terraces shaped the hillsides, improving soil fertility and preventing erosion during heavy rainfall. Every detail indicated deep ecological knowledge and mastery over the tropical environment. These people did not merely survive in the rainforest, they engineered it. Soil analysis added another layer of revelation. Samples taken from agricultural zones showed long-term enrichment, meaning the land was cultivated repeatedly over centuries. This contradicted the outdated theory that Amazonian soil was too nutrient-poor to sustain large populations. In the Upano Valley, agriculture was stable, permanent, and efficient. These communities were not nomadic. They lived in structured, continuous settlements capable of feeding thousands. Yet the landscape displayed something even more intriguing. Some platforms were significantly larger and elevated higher than others. Their scale and visibility suggested political or ceremonial importance, possibly indicating leadership residences, ritual spaces, or administrative centers. This level of architectural hierarchy had been associated with regions like the Andes and Mesoamerica, not the Amazon. Its presence in the Upano Valley rewrote the assumed boundaries of ancient power structures in South America. After additional LiDAR scans, the real magnitude of the discovery became undeniable. What researchers initially thought was a single city turned out to be part of something far greater, a network of interconnected urban centers linked by long, straight roadways. More than 6,000 platforms were identified across the region. The Upano Valley was not an anomaly. It was a central node in a vast, coordinated system. The timing made the revelation even more astonishing. While Rome constructed aqueducts and expanded its empire across Europe and the Mediterranean, a parallel civilization flourished in the heart of the rainforest. These Amazonian cities were not lesser or primitive versions of urban life. They were a different expression of complexity, shaped by a climate and environment unlike any other on Earth. Their absence from modern historical narratives was not due to insignificance. It was the result of geography, climate, and biology, erasing their material traces long before archaeologists knew where to look. The disappearance of these cities was equally fascinating. Around 600 CE, the Upano Valley settlements were gradually abandoned. No evidence of war or mass destruction appeared. There were no burned temples, no fortified walls in ruins, no mass graves. Instead, the forest simply reclaimed everything. Roots spread through foundations, vines blanketed plazas, and the structures slowly disappeared into the soil. Within a few generations, the city became indistinguishable from the natural landscape. To the eyes of early European explorers, nothing remained. Yet the absence of visible ruins misled the world for centuries. Only technology, not tradition, not legend, not archaeology, finally brought the truth back to light. The Upano Valley had always held the evidence. Humanity simply lacked the tools to see it. The discovery forced scholars to rethink the past, not only of the Amazon, but of the entire pre-Columbian world. Civilizations were not limited to stone temples or monumental pyramids. Complexity could arise in many forms, even those built entirely from earth, wood, and ingenuity. The Upano Valley was not a forgotten footnote in history. It was the missing chapter. And now that the first pieces of this lost city have re-emerged, a new question rises. If one metropolis remained hidden for 2,500 years, how many more still lie beneath the forest, waiting for their stories to return? The revelation that the Amazon once held a complex urban landscape was remarkable on its own, but the true magnitude of the discovery became clearer only when archaeologists examined the structures in detail. What lay hidden beneath the roots was not an improvised settlement, nor a collection of seasonal villages. It was a meticulously engineered environment, a system of platforms, roads, terraces, and hydrological channels that transformed the rainforest into a designed landscape capable of sustaining organized life for centuries. The first structure that drew researchers' attention was the raised platform. These platforms were more than elevated patches of dirt. They were carefully constructed foundations, often rectangular or oval, built in layers using compacted earth, clay, and mixed organic material. Some platforms reached heights equivalent to modern two-story buildings, while others sprawled across large areas, forming the base for homes, communal structures, and possible administrative spaces. Their size and uniformity signaled intentional design rather than random formation, and their distribution revealed a pattern that reflected coordinated urban planning. Clusters of platforms formed what appeared to be neighborhoods. Each cluster was arranged around an open plaza, a broad, leveled space that likely served as a central gathering point for residents. These plazas were engineered with precision, their surfaces flat, their edges reinforced, and their connections to surrounding structures clearly intentional. Archaeologists believe they hosted meetings, ceremonies, or even marketplaces. Their prominence in the settlement layout suggests that communal life was fundamental to the region's social structure. The geometric clarity of these settlements was striking. Even after centuries of erosion, plant growth, and soil accumulation, the outlines remained unmistakable when viewed through LiDAR. Straight lines, sharp corners, and repeated shapes emerged across kilometers of rainforest terrain. This widespread replication implied cultural continuity and shared blueprinting across generations. Such consistency would be impossible without a strong social framework, likely supported by leadership roles, communal labor systems, and specialized knowledge cultivated within the community. One of the most surprising features was the network of long, straight roads that connected these clusters. While rainforests are notoriously difficult to traverse, the builders of this civilization carved pathways that cut boldly through the landscape. These roads were engineered with raised embankments, compacted surfaces, and edges defined by linear mounds. In some places, the embankments were reinforced to keep the pathways above flooding zones during heavy rainfall seasons. The longest roads stretched for several kilometers, maintaining an almost perfect linear trajectory regardless of terrain shifts, a remarkable accomplishment in such an environment. The discovery of these roadways overturned the old assumption that dense rainforest prevented large-scale coordination. Instead, the Upano Valley civilization demonstrated that sophisticated infrastructure could flourish even in the most challenging ecosystems. The roads served not only as transportation routes, but also as symbolic connectors linking communities into a broader social and political system. Their precision suggests the presence of surveyors or specialists who understood geometry, land elevation, and drainage control. Drainage systems were another innovation that demonstrated profound environmental knowledge. The Amazon receives heavy rainfall, and floods can destabilize soil, destroy crops, and collapse structures. To counter this, the ancient inhabitants engineered channels to divert excess water. These channels ran along the edges of plazas, between residential platforms, and parallel to major roadways. In some regions, the channels fed into larger basins designed to hold overflow water temporarily. Their preservation is extraordinary. Even after centuries of forest regrowth, the channels remain visible under LiDAR, evidence of their durable design. This hydrological mastery extended to agriculture. Soil analysis revealed that the community used enriched earth, similar in concept to what is known in Brazil as terra preta. Although details vary, the pattern indicates a deliberate enhancement of soil fertility through controlled burning, organic deposition, and long-term land management. This enriched soil allowed for steady, sustainable agriculture in a region where nutrient-poor ground is the norm. The presence of terraces further amplified this capability. Built into hillsides and elevated areas, these terraces stabilized the land and provided consistent growing areas resilient to erosion. The archaeological team also uncovered evidence of structured housing built atop platforms. Post holes, remnants of wooden walls, and indications of multi-room floor plans reveal that the residents constructed durable homes using timber, palm fiber, and clay. Wood normally decays quickly in tropical environments, but the platform elevation protected much of the architectural footprint from the worst effects of moisture and soil compression. These platforms acted as natural preservers, allowing modern researchers to reconstruct the probable design of the homes above them. In examining these structures, scientists observed variations in platform size and height. Some were modest, supporting houses likely occupied by small families. Others were monumental, towering above the landscape. These massive platforms were often positioned at central nodes of the settlement, aligned with major roads and adjacent to large plazas. Their scale suggests that they served ceremonial or political functions, possibly residences of leaders, ritual centers, or meeting halls for decision-making councils. Their elevated positions would have emphasized their importance, physically and symbolically representing authority within the community. This architectural hierarchy mirrored patterns observed in other ancient societies, yet its presence in the Amazon challenges long-held assumptions. Researchers previously believed power structures in the rainforest were limited to small, loosely organized groups. The Upano Valley discoveries instead show evidence of defined social roles, centralized planning, and communal labor projects comparable to early urbanism elsewhere in the world. The ceramic artifacts found in these settlements further reinforced this impression. Pottery styles were standardized and intricate, with repeated decorative motifs and consistent craftsmanship across different neighborhoods. Such uniformity suggests organized production centers, rather than isolated household craft. Some ceramics displayed distinctive painting techniques and complex shapes that required specialized skill. Others bore geometric patterns that may have conveyed symbolic or cultural meaning, hinting at shared identity across the region. The presence of storage jars, cooking vessels, and ceremonial bowls reveals a community engaged in diverse daily practices. Some artifacts were associated with food storage, indicating long-term planning and crop management. Others were linked to ritual activities, suggesting a belief system integrated into both domestic life and public ceremonies. The sheer quantity and variety of ceramics uncovered points to significant population density and sustained cultural continuity. Beyond ceramics, tools made of stone, bone, and shell indicated a versatile and resourceful technological tradition. Stone axes, polishing tools, and agricultural implements revealed a deep knowledge of local materials. Shell ornaments and body decorations pointed to aesthetic traditions and possibly social markers. These items painted a vivid picture. This was not an isolated or primitive society, but a community that integrated craftsmanship, symbolism, and survival with remarkable sophistication. As excavations expanded, archaeologists identified a timeline suggesting that the Upano Valley civilization emerged around 500 BCE and thrived until approximately 600 CE. This longevity, spanning over a millennium, indicates stability and sustained development. The duration rivals major civilizations across the world, yet it remained invisible until recently due to the rainforest's relentless pace of decomposition and regrowth. The city's eventual abandonment remains a mystery. Preliminary evidence suggests no warfare or catastrophic destruction. Instead, environmental changes, shifting river courses, or social transformations may have contributed to gradual depopulation. The rainforest then reclaimed everything with astonishing speed. Within a few generations, homes, plazas, terraces, and roads disappeared beneath layers of vegetation and soil. This disappearance is one of the most intriguing aspects of the discovery. While stone civilizations leave monuments that endure for millennia, earth-based societies require delicate preservation conditions. In the Amazon, almost nothing survives naturally. Without constant maintenance, even monumental structures collapse quickly. This is why the Upano Valley remained hidden for so long. The forest is both protector and eraser. It conceals history while simultaneously safeguarding its outline beneath the canopy. And yet, even under thick vegetation, the architecture remains unmistakably human. Its geometry, scale, and organization reflect a culture fully capable of modifying the landscape to fit its vision. The Upano Valley civilization was not an anomaly. It was evidence of a larger paradigm, that the Amazon once supported intricate, interconnected societies that left behind engineered landscapes rather than towering stone monuments. With each new excavation, the foundations of that paradigm grow stronger. What the rainforest hid for thousands of years is now reshaping our understanding of ancient South America. These cities challenge long-standing narratives about where complexity can arise and what forms it can take. And as technology continues to advance, the question becomes increasingly urgent. If this city survived beneath the canopy for so long, how many more remain concealed, waiting to redefine the map of ancient civilization? Understanding the architecture of the ancient Amazonian settlements is only one part of the story. To grasp the full magnitude of this civilization, it is necessary to look beyond the structures they left behind and attempt to reconstruct the lives of the people who built them. Archaeological evidence alone cannot revive their voices or stories, but through a combination of artifacts, soil analysis, botanical remains, and settlement organization, a vivid picture emerges of a society that thrived in a rainforest once presumed too hostile for urban life. The inhabitants of the Upano Valley were not passive inhabitants of the land. They were engineers, farmers, artisans, and community builders. They developed a lifestyle intricately adapted to their environment, using the forest not as an obstacle, but as an ally. Their ability to reshape the landscape with terraces, raised platforms, and water management systems demonstrates a deep understanding of the rainforest's ecological rhythms. They knew how water flowed during storms, how soil nutrients changed with each cycle of planting, and how to integrate construction into a biome where decomposition is constant and relentless. Their homes were elevated to avoid the destructive moisture that saturates the ground for much of the year. The platforms served as protective foundations, preventing wood, thatch, and woven walls from decaying prematurely. From post-hole arrangements and soil layers, researchers can infer that these structures were built with timber frames, palm leaf roofs, and clay-lined floors. Inside, daily life likely revolved around cooking fires, craft production, and the communal routines that shaped family and neighborhood identity. Food production was central to their survival, and the community mastered the art of farming in a challenging ecosystem. Botanical analysis suggests that they cultivated maize, cassava, beans, peppers, and various tubers. They supplemented their agriculture with foraging, fishing, and hunting, creating a balanced diet that combined cultivated crops with protein sources from rivers and forest fauna. Unlike many assumptions made in the past, the rainforest was not a barrier to agriculture. With enriched soil and careful land management, these people produced food at scales capable of sustaining dense populations for centuries. One of the most striking discoveries in the Upano Valley is the variety of ceramics used by its inhabitants. Pottery styles range from utilitarian cooking pots to finely decorated vessels with geometric patterns and incised motifs that required exceptional skill. The existence of standardized designs across multiple settlements suggests that pottery was not merely a household craft, but a coordinated tradition. Some vessels display identical shapes and decorations even when found miles apart, indicating either widespread trade networks or shared cultural practices that extended far beyond a single city. These ceramics often reveal clues about social life. Larger vessels were likely used for storage, enabling surplus food to be preserved for long periods. This capacity for storage points to a level of social organization that prioritized long-term planning, a necessary strategy in an environment where seasonal floods and storms could disrupt food supplies. Smaller, intricately decorated pieces may have played ceremonial roles, used in rituals or gatherings that reinforced social bonds. Their aesthetic complexity suggests symbolic meaning, possibly tied to beliefs about ancestry, nature, or community identity. Tools made from stone, bone, and shell provide additional insight into daily life. Polished stone axes were essential for clearing vegetation and shaping timber for building. Bone needles and fishhooks reflect domestic tasks and the importance of river resources. Shell ornaments appear to have served decorative purposes, hinting at concepts of status, beauty, or identity that extended beyond mere survival. These artifacts collectively reveal a culture with diverse skills and a clear appreciation for craftsmanship. The presence of specialized labor becomes increasingly evident as more objects are analyzed. Some individuals likely devoted significant time to producing pottery, while others managed agricultural activities, constructed platforms, or oversaw the maintenance of roads and drainage systems. This level of specialization is a hallmark of organized societies. It indicates cooperation, role differentiation, and leadership frameworks capable of coordinating labor across generations. The population size of the Upano Valley settlements remains a topic of ongoing research, but preliminary estimates suggest that tens of thousands of people may have lived within the interconnected network of platforms, terraces, and roads. Such numbers would place this civilization on par with many known urban centers of the same era across the world. What sets the Upano Valley apart, however, is its ability to sustain such density in the midst of dense rainforest ecosystems that modern scientists once assumed could not support large-scale habitation. The social structure of the region likely combined communal cooperation with leadership roles embedded in tradition. The larger platforms positioned in central plazas may have housed individuals of higher status or those responsible for coordinating community activities. These elevated structures served as focal points, creating a spatial hierarchy reflected in the very design of the settlement. They symbolized authority, spirituality, or both, depending on the role they played within the culture's worldview. Ritual life appears to have been woven into the fabric of daily existence. The size and placement of plazas suggest they were spaces for ceremonies, public gatherings, feasts, or commemorations of seasonal events. While no surviving written records explain the belief systems of this civilization, the layout of their urban environment points to shared values and a sense of collective identity expressed through public architecture. The symmetry of the plazas and the orientation of the roads may even have held astronomical or symbolic meanings, though such interpretations remain speculative. Interconnectedness was another defining characteristic of these people. The long, straight roadways that linked settlements imply regular communication, exchange of goods, and social interactions across the valley. Instead of isolated groups surviving independently, these communities formed a cohesive network that likely collaborated on agriculture, rituals, and defense. Their coordinated efforts reveal a level of unity previously unimagined for ancient Amazonian populations. Despite the scale of this civilization, conflict does not appear to have been a dominant factor in its daily life. Archaeologists have found no evidence of fortified walls, mass graves, or widespread warfare. The absence of such signs suggests that threats from outside groups may have been minimal, or that disagreements were resolved through means other than large-scale violence. This does not imply that the society was entirely peaceful, but rather that political stability may have been maintained through cooperative structures rather than militarized control. As researchers pieced together the remains of this society, one feature became impossible to ignore: its adaptability. The people of the Upano Valley built cities that functioned in harmony with their environment. Instead of clearing large swaths of forest or erecting stone monuments, they integrated their homes and public spaces into the natural landscape. Their technologies were optimized for longevity within the rainforest, relying on earthworks, wood, and organic materials that blended seamlessly into the environment when abandoned. This adaptability also shaped their worldview. Without written records, the beliefs of this civilization remain speculative, but the archaeological evidence suggests a close relationship with the cycles of nature. Their mastery of water management, their cultivation practices, and their settlement patterns all point to a deep respect for ecological balance. They understood the risks of erosion, flooding, and soil depletion, and they developed strategies that allowed them to thrive for more than 1,000 years. But even a society this well adapted was vulnerable to forces beyond its control. The inhabited region experienced shifts in climate, river pathways, and ecological conditions, slow changes that could have strained food supplies or disrupted agricultural patterns. Over time, these subtle environmental pressures may have accumulated, contributing to the gradual decline of permanent settlement. Unlike civilizations that collapsed dramatically, the Upano Valley appears to have experienced a slow, quiet transition. Homes were abandoned, plazas emptied, and the forest reclaimed the land with its unstoppable growth. Within decades, nature erased nearly every visible trace of human presence. What remained was buried beneath layers of soil, roots, and fallen vegetation. Only the earthworks endured, the platforms, terraces, and roadways that formed the foundation of life in the Upano Valley. These structures, though concealed, preserved the memory of a people who understood their world with remarkable precision. The rediscovery of this civilization challenges modern assumptions about ancient Amazonian life. It reveals that complexity can arise in forms that do not rely on stone, metal, or monumental architecture. It shows that the rainforest is not a barrier to urban development, but a dynamic environment that can support sophisticated societies when approached with knowledge and respect. The people of the Upano Valley were not primitive or isolated. They were part of a rich cultural landscape that thrived long before modern narratives imagined such possibilities. Their legacy lies not only in the physical remains they left behind, but in the questions they inspire. How did they organize their political structures? What beliefs guided their rituals? How did they maintain harmony across multiple settlements? And perhaps most importantly, if one civilization of this scale could remain hidden for centuries, how many more stories of human ingenuity lie just beneath the forest floor, waiting for their turn to be rediscovered? The rise of the Upano Valley civilization reshaped what we thought possible in the Amazon, but its disappearance is equally revealing. When a society manages to thrive for more than 1,000 years in an environment that challenges both architecture and agriculture, its abrupt decline demands careful examination. Unlike the collapse of many ancient cultures, this one left no dramatic ruins, no scorched temples, no evidence of warfare. Instead, its cities faded quietly into the forest, leaving behind only earthworks durable enough to survive millennia of rain, roots, and soil movement. Understanding the reasons behind this vanishing offers valuable insight into the fragility of human systems and the resilience of nature. For centuries, scholars assumed the rainforest was too inhospitable to support dense populations. But the Upano Valley proves the opposite. The landscape was not the cause of decline. It was the reason the civilization thrived. The people who built the raised platforms, wide plazas, long straight roads, and agricultural terraces understood their environment with precision. They managed soil fertility, designed water systems that could withstand seasonal flooding, and created urban layouts adapted to constant humidity. Their disappearance was not the result of technological failure or environmental ignorance. It was something else, something more subtle, gradual, and complex. The clues begin with the soil itself. Sediment cores extracted from the region reveal shifts in agricultural activity over centuries. In the earlier phases of settlement, nutrient-rich soil is abundant, reflecting careful enrichment practices and steady cultivation. But over time, the layers show a decline in this enriched soil, replaced by more organic forest-derived layers. This pattern reflects a gradual reduction in human maintenance. Agriculture did not collapse suddenly. It faded. The terraces were not ruined in a single event. They were abandoned. Without continuous human care, the forest reclaimed them rapidly, returning the land to its original ecological state. The question becomes why? What caused a civilization capable of sustaining itself for centuries to slowly withdraw from its engineered landscape? Environmental changes offer part of the answer. Paleoclimatic data suggests that the region experienced episodes of increased rainfall and unstable weather patterns in the centuries leading up to 600 CE, the approximate period when the settlements were abandoned. These shifts may have altered river courses, flooded agricultural zones, or weakened drainage systems. Even small changes in hydrology can have cascading effects in a rainforest civilization. If water distribution became unpredictable, terraces could erode, fields could lose nutrients, and crops could fail more frequently. A single bad year is survivable, but repeated disruptions can push populations to relocate or restructure their settlement patterns. Another factor is demographic change. As societies grow and evolve, population pressures can create tensions within resource systems. If agricultural output no longer matched the needs of the population, communities might have dispersed to find new land. This would not leave dramatic archaeological evidence. People moving gradually through the forest would leave almost no lasting trace. A slow dispersal fits the pattern seen in the soil, a gradual decline rather than a sudden collapse. There is also the possibility of social transformation. Civilizations often change form without disappearing entirely. The Upano Valley may have undergone political decentralization, leading communities to break into smaller, more mobile groups. These groups may have adapted new cultural traditions or migrated to regions with different ecological advantages. Without monumental architecture or stone records, such transitions are nearly invisible in the archaeological record, especially in a rainforest environment where wood and fiber degrade almost immediately. Trade networks could also have played a role. Long, straight roads connecting settlements suggest active exchange routes that bound the region together. If these networks weakened due to shifts in alliances, environmental stress, or population decline, the cohesion of the civilization might have fractured. Without regular movement of goods, ideas, and labor, large-scale coordinated projects such as road maintenance, terrace upkeep, and platform construction would have become increasingly difficult. Over time, infrastructure decays rapidly when collective organization falters. One of the most compelling aspects of this collapse is the absence of warfare. Unlike many urban societies that fell due to invasions or internal conflict, there are no signs of widespread violence in the Upano Valley. Excavations have uncovered no fortifications, mass graves, burned settlements, or weapon concentrations. This absence suggests that the decline was not catastrophic, but rather a peaceful adjustment to changing conditions. A population withdrawing slowly from a landscape leaves almost nothing behind, and in the Amazon, that nothingness becomes complete in decades. Nature itself completed the erasure. The rainforest grows quickly, aggressively, and unpredictably. Roots penetrate foundations, vines strangle structures, soil forms thick layers over everything. A city can disappear beneath a century of growth, becoming indistinguishable from natural hills. Homes built from wood rot away within a few years. Polished floors turn to dirt, plazas become fields of ferns, and drainage canals fill with sediment. Without constant maintenance, the engineered landscape ceases to look engineered. This is why early explorers and researchers dismissed the Amazon as uninhabited. They could not see the cities because the forest was too efficient at reclaiming them. It leaves behind no towering monuments like the pyramids, no stone walls like Machu Picchu, no carvings like Angkor. Instead, it transforms human activity into natural formations. Only LiDAR could reveal the truth, a technology that did not exist until the 21st century. But disappearance does not mean insignificance. The quiet fade of this civilization reveals something profound about how human histories are preserved or erased. The Upano Valley's collapse challenges the assumption that advanced societies must leave behind monumental ruins. It shows that complexity can vanish almost completely when built with organic materials, no matter how sophisticated the architecture once was. And it forces archaeologists to confront the possibility that many other ancient cultures may have existed without leaving durable traces. The people of the Upano Valley lived through their decline. They would have noticed the changes, shifts in rainfall patterns, reduced crop yields, or altered river flows. Decisions were made generation after generation: maintain the terraces or abandon them, repair the roads or let them erode, invest in centralized plazas or move to smaller settlements. These decisions gradually pulled the population away from the larger cities and toward new landscapes. As communities dispersed, the knowledge that once united them may have fragmented. Ritual centers lost their influence, and political structures loosened. Without coordination, the urban network dissolved. Yet their knowledge did not disappear entirely. It likely lived on in the cultural memory of groups that remained in the region. Traditions related to agriculture, craftsmanship, and environmental management may have influenced later Amazonian societies. Oral histories, even if transformed across centuries, could have carried echoes of ancestral cities hidden beneath the forest. These echoes may persist today in fragmented myths, place names, or cultural practices passed down through generations. When modern researchers uncovered the Upano Valley structures, they were not discovering an isolated anomaly. They were uncovering a lost chapter of human adaptation, a chapter that had been buried under assumptions, academic biases, and the sheer power of nature's regenerative force. The collapse of these cities reflects the constant tension between human ingenuity and environmental change, a tension that shaped civilizations around the world. In understanding this decline, a broader perspective emerges. Civilizations do not disappear because they are weak. They disappear when the conditions that once supported them change beyond what their systems can endure. Their legacy survives in the questions they provoke. Questions about resilience, adaptation, and the boundaries of possibility in environments once considered inhospitable for settlement. The quiet ending of the Upano Valley civilization is not a story of failure. It is a reminder of how human societies evolve, relocate, transform, and sometimes fade into landscapes that remember them only through the traces they leave behind. As the forest erased their presence, it also protected the foundations that would one day rewrite the history of the Amazon. Their disappearance was not a final chapter. It was a pause, one that lasted for centuries, until lasers revealed what the forest had hidden for so long. For centuries, the Amazon existed in global imagination as a realm of untamed wilderness, a place where dense vegetation and shifting rivers erased all traces of the past. Explorers described endless forests free of cities, and early archaeologists saw no monumental structures that fit their expectations of complexity. Western scholarship reinforced the idea that the rainforest could not support large, organized populations. Every assumption about the region cemented the belief that ancient urbanism was impossible in such an environment. But as the 21st century advanced, the tools for uncovering long-buried histories transformed dramatically. What the eye could not see, and the soil refused to reveal, lasers would bring back to light. The rediscovery of the Upano Valley civilization stands among the most groundbreaking moments in modern archaeology. It demonstrates how new technology can overturn long-standing assumptions and illuminate forgotten chapters of human history. At the heart of this revolution is LiDAR, light detection and ranging, a remote sensing method capable of stripping away the forest canopy and revealing the landforms beneath. Mounted on aircraft or drones, LiDAR fires thousands of laser pulses per second toward the ground. Most are absorbed by leaves, branches, or vegetation, but a fraction reaches the surface and bounces back. When millions of these points are collected and processed, the forest disappears like a curtain lifting from a stage, exposing the terrain in astonishing detail. When LiDAR was first used over parts of the eastern Andes foothills, researchers expected to find small settlements or a scattering of earthworks. Instead, the resulting maps revealed a vast network of ancient urban planning: platforms, plazas, agricultural terraces, raised causeways, and long straight roads that stretched across the landscape for miles. Artificial hills emerged where no one expected them. Perfectly aligned streets appeared beneath areas previously classified as untouched forest. Geometric designs, impossible to attribute to natural processes, materialized with extraordinary clarity. The data showed not isolated villages but interconnected cities, forming a cultural region far more organized than anyone imagined. The precision of the earthworks astonished researchers. Platforms were arranged in clusters, each aligned with navigational consistency that hinted at a shared architectural standard. Large plazas were positioned strategically to serve as communal spaces. Framed by raised structures that may have functioned as residences, ceremonial buildings, or administrative centers. Even after a millennium of erosion, the geometric patterns remained recognizable, a testament to the sophistication of the design and the persistence of earth as an enduring construction material. The roads connecting these settlements were remarkably straight, cutting through hills and valleys with deliberate intention. Such engineering required coordinated labor and advanced planning, similar to the road systems of other ancient civilizations across the world. After LiDAR revealed the city clusters, ground teams conducted excavations to confirm what the technology had mapped. Beneath layers of forest soil, they uncovered ceramics, charred seeds, stone tools, cooking areas, and workshop remnants. The platforms were wrapped in compact layers of earth reinforced with clay, gravel, or cobblestone, demonstrating construction methods that prevented collapse during intense tropical rainfall. The sheer number of platforms, over 6,000 across the region, indicated not temporary occupation, but sustained habitation over many generations. Each new excavation added detail to a civilization previously hidden in plain sight. The rediscovery forced a re-evaluation of how the Amazon was understood. It proved that complex societies could thrive in environments without stone or metal, relying instead on earth, wood, and organic materials. The absence of towering ruins was not evidence of absence. It was evidence of erosion and decomposition. The forest had reclaimed everything but the ground beneath. This realization opened a new frontier of archaeology, where technologies like LiDAR became essential for detecting landscapes once considered archaeologically silent. What makes the Upano Valley remarkable is not only the scale of its settlements, but their endurance. These cities existed for more than 1,000 years, adapting to ecological changes and maintaining agricultural systems that supported large populations. Their disappearance was quiet, gradual, and obscured by the forest. But their rediscovery redefines the limits of what constitutes an ancient civilization. Their engineering achievements challenge assumptions about human adaptation to difficult climates and demonstrate that urbanism does not require stone monuments to flourish. The impact of LiDAR extended beyond this region. Once the technology proved successful in the Upano Valley, researchers began applying it across Amazonia. New surveys revealed similar patterns of ancient land modification: geometric earthworks in Acre, fortified settlements in the upper Xingu, extensive raised field agriculture in Bolivia, and intricate mound complexes near the Tapajos River. These discoveries collectively challenge the long-held belief that the Amazon was sparsely populated before European contact. Instead, it appears the region supported millions of people living in structured societies with urban planning, agriculture, and cultural traditions that varied across its vast landscape. The broader implications are immense. Human history, especially in tropical regions, may be far older and more diverse than previously accepted. Civilizations that built with earth and wood, instead of limestone or granite, remain largely invisible without modern scanning tools. The traditional definition of civilization, based on monumental stone architecture, is no longer adequate. In the Amazon, longevity, environmental adaptation, and regional networks shaped societal complexity more than materials that weather the passage of time. The rediscovery also highlights the fragility of historical interpretation. For decades, scholars dismissed indigenous claims that their ancestors built large settlements. Oral histories were categorized as myth, not memory. Today, these same narratives take on new significance as LiDAR confirms the existence of cities, exactly where local traditions said they once stood. This shift emphasizes the importance of indigenous knowledge in guiding archaeological inquiry and interpreting the meaning behind the newly uncovered landscapes. As researchers analyzed the LiDAR data and excavation results together, a clearer picture of the region's ancient past emerged. The Upano Valley was a cultural heartland, sustained by engineering ingenuity and ecological expertise. Its cities were part of a broader network of Amazonian societies that thrived long before European arrival. The rediscovery does not diminish the challenges these communities faced. Rather, it reveals how they overcame them with creativity, cooperation, and environmental intelligence. The story of this civilization is not simply one of the past. It has consequences for the present. Modern Amazonian landscapes are often shaped by deforestation, mining, and agricultural expansion. Understanding the ancient relationship between people and forest demonstrates that sustainable food production and urban living are compatible with rainforest ecosystems when approached with respect and long-term planning. The methods these ancient societies used, soil enrichment, agroforestry, water management, and decentralized city planning, offer lessons for contemporary environmental stewardship. Technological rediscovery also prompts a deeper philosophical reflection on the nature of historical memory. What other civilizations might lie hidden beneath forests, deserts, or grasslands? How many human achievements have vanished because they were built with organic materials? How different would the narrative of human evolution look if every region were scanned with the precision that revealed the Upano Valley? The Amazon's buried cities suggest that the global archaeological record is incomplete. Not because ancient humans failed to create complex societies, but because their environments graced the evidence. The Upano Valley may be only the beginning. As satellite imaging, advanced LiDAR, and AI-assisted analysis expand across the globe, new landscapes of ancient human activity are likely to emerge. The idea that civilization is synonymous with monumental stone is disappearing. Instead, the archaeological definition of civilization is shifting toward systems of cooperation, environmental engineering, societal organization, and cultural expression, regardless of material permanence. In the end, the rediscovery of the Upano Valley civilization is not just a scientific triumph. It is a reminder that human ingenuity is far older and far more diverse than once believed. The forest did not conceal a forgotten world. It preserved it. Beneath the canopy, under layers of roots and time, an entire urban network waited patiently to be seen again. Modern technology has finally lifted the veil, revealing a society whose achievements were written not in stone, but in earth, wood, and the memories of people who called the rainforest home. The legacy of this rediscovery expands human history, challenges academic assumptions, and redefines what it means to build a civilization in harmony with nature. The Amazon, long seen as a place without cities, now stands as a testament to the creativity and resilience of ancient human communities. Their story is no longer buried. It is being reconstructed, one laser pulse at a time. A reminder that history still holds countless mysteries just beneath the surface, waiting for us to look deeper. Don't forget to subscribe. It really supports the channel and helps us bring you more great stories.